Today we're going to be examining the roles that socialism and responsibility have to play in Priestley's and Inspector calls. Let's start by explaining what socialism really is. It's a term that's been bounced around a fair bit, but it's important that we have a solid grasp on the concept before we go any further. Socialism is a political movement based on a set of beliefs that the distribution of wealth should be equal. The socialist movement was beginning to get traction in Britain during Priestley's time, as the population were growing sick of the wealth being distributed amongst a small minority at the top of the pile. When the play is set in 1912, the upper middle class and aristocracy were certainly not keen on the idea of sharing what they believed was rightfully theirs. And we can see this through the character of Arthur. Arthur Burling is an undeniable capitalist, and Britain was a capitalist society. We should be clear that capitalism is still the economic structure of modern Britain, but we've developed social reform and come a long way to close the gap between the classes since Edwardian society. Burling alludes to Bernard Shaw and H.G. Wells, who were famous socialists, and claims they can't do the talking. Burling sees no threat in the socialist movement. He is as dismissive of it as he is the threat of war. Priestley is clever here by having Burling speak with confidence on the unsinkable Titanic and Germans don't want a war. The audience know not to trust him. The Titanic did sink. The Germans did go to war. So when Mr. Burling says socialism has no value, the audience can assume he's wrong on that as well. Arthur Burling refers to socialists as cranks, an offensive term, and is scornful of the idea of social responsibility. He clearly believes that interests of business are more important than the rights of workers. In 1912, there was no welfare state in Britain. Poor people often depended on charity. But wealthy people, such as Mrs. Burling in the play, usually controlled that charity. This is hugely concerning, as Mrs. Burling herself feels no responsibility for the working class. She lacks empathy, and empathy is key if you're to understand and help others in the community. Priestley wanted to create a change in society and make the upper class feel more responsible for the rest of society. This directly contradicts Arthur's views. You think everybody has to look after everybody else, as if we were all mixed up together like bees in a hive, community and all that nonsense. Interestingly, Mr. Burling's speech is interrupted by the front doorbell and the arrival of Gould. This is no accident. Gould is there to shake up the status quo, to rival Burling and his capitalist ideals, just as Priestley does in his own life. When we compare this with the inspector's comment that we are all members of one body, it's clear how different the political inclinations are of these two gentlemen. One is very much out for himself, and the other the collective. The inspector acts as judge and teacher for the Burlings. The play is laid out like a morality play aimed at teaching people how to behave. Gould points out sins and urges repentance. Priestley is interested in our personal responsibility for our actions and our collective responsibility to society. We need to take care of one another. Throughout the play, Priestley explores the effect of class, age and sex on people's attitudes towards responsibility, and how prejudice can prevent them from acting responsibly. A key concept here is collective responsibility. No one action of the Burling family led to her suicide, but the collective wrongdoings of the family made her life impossible. The inspector exposes them by stating that each of you helped kill her. He wants them all to accept and share responsibility for their actions. It suggests the idea that we are all bees in a hive and need to take care of one another, that the past generation has made mistakes and we cannot turn away from the suffering lower class. Priestley wants the audience to question their own actions and the responsibility they have as a society to take care of the people of Britain. It's clear that responsibility is the driving force behind this play. It links all the themes and characters with Priestley's socialist message. Know this and you'll be close to understanding the play's function.